shop. My family's been here for 50 years. You know, I stood here on this property with my father and sold firearms when I was a kid, and here I am today trying to fight for what's left of our gun rights here in the state of Illinois. I have personally left the state of Illinois. I live in Missouri, but I'm back to fight for you guys because you guys need all the help you can get. So, what do you want to know?
Well, I said we're here gathering signatures for a petition that we'll be bringing to the Winnebago County Board, asking them to pass concealed carry. Your thoughts?
I'd like to think everybody's going to be here to sign this petition, and we're going to shove it to the county board, and they're going to take it someplace from there, man. I don't know, but it'd sure be nice if we could get concealed carry. How many people got to die before we're going to get past concealed carry? You know, this is just crazy. You know, honest citizens are dying every day in this town, and we can't protect ourselves because they say no. Wow, what a bummer for these guys, huh?
Yeah.
If you got to pay to protect yourself, man, what's the deal?
Yeah, I'm going to say Illinois is the only state without any form of concealed or open carry.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy. Highest taxes, you know. You know, would you believe that if crime dropped, gee, maybe the unemployment rate would drop too, you know, and things would get better in this state. Gosh, you know, they want to talk about casinos in Illinois. Why are they talking about casinos? There's people dying on the streets of Rockford pumping their gas at the gas stations, and they want to talk about casinos? Get with the program, boys and girls.
Yep. I wanted to get your thoughts. About 2 weeks ago, Congressmen Joe Walsh, Randy Holcren, Don Manzillo, and Tim Johnson sent a letter to Governor Quinn asking him to support concealed carry. Your thoughts on that letter?
Absolutely. Well, Governor Quinn, I don't know. Governor, listen to us. We're law-abiding citizens. We've been through the tests. We've been through the background checks. We're properly trained. We'll take your course. We'll do what we got to do to make you happy. We want concealed carry. You know, so Governor Quinn should just wake up. My guess, Governor Quinn's someplace today on Father's Day with his armed protection with him. Where's mine? I don't have mine, and today I've got all these people here, and they're all armed, and I'm calling it the safest place to be in Illinois. And I think we're right. I think we're on the money here. So.
Yeah, it's a lot safer to be than anywhere in Chicago. How much you want to bet there's going to be 50 shootings and 10 murders this weekend?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, how much of that could have been prevented?
Okay. I'm Shaun Kranish, the founder of iCarry.org, and we're here today at the Bullet Stop with the Rockford Tea Party and the gun owners from across the state line to celebrate our rights to carry a gun and pressure local authorities to stand up for that right and uphold their oath to the Constitution to protect our right to keep and bear arms. And that's the key, because in Illinois we have a blanket ban across the board against carrying a loaded gun, and that's unconstitutional. That those laws are null and void, and we don't need to wait for a court to say so. We don't need to wait for anything. The local officials and authorities here in Winnebago County can today, starting right now, can uphold their oath by not prosecuting gun owners and by pressuring the state legislature to pass a concealed carry law, which will at least put them one step forward to obeying the Constitution. And that's what we need in Illinois. We need to be able to defend ourselves just like they do in 49 other states.
Yeah. You had your own personal little run-in with the law about that, carrying a concealed weapon. Why don't you go ahead and give a brief rundown of that?
Yeah, I was arrested in 2006. This was after I started iCarry.org, and I was arrested for carrying an unloaded gun enclosed in a container, which is state law. And I carried a copy of the state law with me, and I have that sheet here today.
Saying you had that,
yeah,
the Illinois state law with you?
Yeah, I had a copy of this form, and I gave this to the police who were arresting me, and they looked at it, and they stood around in a circle looking at it, and one officer said, you know, I don't know if we're doing this right. I don't know if we're doing the right thing here. Well, that's because it says in black and white that in Illinois you can carry a gun as long as it's unloaded and closed in a case and you have a valid FOID card. And I met all three requirements, and they still arrested me. And then Winnebago County State's Attorney Paul Logley at the time went to the grand jury, lied to the grand jury, said my gun was loaded, and was able to get them to indict me on felony charges, which I fought for 4 years. After 2 years, Judge Vecchio in town dismissed the charges completely with prejudice, and that still wasn't enough, so Paul Logley went and appealed that dismissal and sent me through for another 2 years. I had to spend tens of thousands of dollars, but it wasn't even the money, it was more the anguish of the whole thing that, you know, here's a law-abiding citizen like me. I've never been involved in a crime. Why are they prosecuting me? Why are they wasting precious resources and time on prosecuting me when there's plenty of criminals out? I mean, in Winnebago County, we have the highest crime rate in the state. So what's going on? What's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this state?
All right. I want to get your reaction here. About 2 weeks ago, Congressmen Joe Walsh, Don Manzillo, Tim Johnson, and Randy Holtgren sent a letter to Governor Quinn asking him to support concealed carry. What are your thoughts?
That's a great thing they did. It's probably falling on deaf ears with Quinn. I don't know, and it's not just the governor. It's the legislator that's holding it back, and it's really the state of Chicago that's holding it back. So it's going to take pressure. We've petitioned, we've lobbied, we've done all that. We're even suing right now, and gun owners in the state of Illinois are suing, and hopefully that'll do it. But we just need to keep turning the heat up. And we're going to do that here locally in Winnebago County. We're going to continue doing it with the Rockford Tea Party throughout the year. We're going to have more events like this, get them bigger, more people, more guns, and hopefully this will send a message that they'll listen to and they'll finally pass.
Frank Gambino, State Senate candidate, 34th District.
All right. About 2 weeks ago, Congressmen Joe Walsh, Don Manzillo, Tim Johnson, and Randy Holtgren sent a letter to Governor Quinn asking him to support concealed carry. Do you agree with them?
Okay, if you did not get a raffle ticket. Absolutely. I'm on the county board right now, and 2010 is when we sent our resolution down asking the state to pass concealed carry. Of course they didn't, but and it was almost a unanimous vote. I think
Thank you everybody for being here on such a
26
wonderful
to 2
Father's
in
Day
favor
to sign our
of
petition.
concealed carry in the county here.
We're going to get our speeches started shortly.
Jim. Okay. We are here at Bullet Stop gathering signatures for a petition that the Rockford Tea Party is going to be eventually bringing to the Winnebago County Board for concealed carry. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are we'll have to see the petition as it comes in along with the resolution you want. And I know that the state's attorney is going to want to review it and give us some legal counsel. And, we'll consider it. It'll get into a committee and hopefully it'll come out and be voted on. But until it gets to us, I can't tell you how it's going to come out.
All right. But on the general concept, you do support concealed carry?
Oh, absolutely. What's more important is we have to get it downstate and get it done so the whole state can have it instead of just Winnebago County.
Yeah, so we would need to elect more people like yourself to go to Springfield.
The only way that's going to happen is we have to remove those who are opposed to it and put those who are in favor of it in.
Glen Weber, Republican candidate for State's Attorney.
All right, we're here at Bullet Stop gathering signatures for a petition that we'll be bringing before the Winnebago County Board concerning concealed carry. What are your thoughts on concealed carry?
Well, of course I support it, and of course that's why I'm here, and I'm here to speak briefly on it, and for it 100%. And we need to put some pressure on certain people, and I think this is a great event and a great time to do it.
Yeah, Winnebago County has one of the highest crime rates in the state of Illinois. Do you think that concealed carry or a form of open carry would help reduce the crime rate?
I think the statistics show in other states that the crime rates have gone down when concealed carry is adopted, and I believe that's what could occur here, certainly if it follows along with every other state in the United States.
Your opponent, sorry, I don't remember his name at the moment.
That's good. That works for me.
Yeah, Mr. Briscotti, on the radio a couple of weeks ago, said that he was in favor of having gun owners register their weapons. Do you agree with him?
No, gun registration is just another step towards tyranny, government repression. No, I'm not for registration of handguns. Of course, we already register in every clerk's office in the county the convicted felons who cannot own handguns by law, and those that cannot own handguns by law are already registered. So the good law-abiding citizens don't need to be registered.
Okay, I'm Shaun Kranish. I'm the founder of iCarry.org, and I want to thank everyone for coming out today. We really appreciate it. This event was started by the Rockford Tea Party, and this is the Rockford Tea Party True Grit, I believe the second annual open carry demonstration and concealed carry petition drive. David Hale, the coordinator of the Rockford Tea Party, wasn't able to make it today, so he wanted me to say a couple words for him. The Tea Party stands for limited government, responsible and reduced government spending, economic freedom, and constitutional integrity in all levels of government. Our God-given right to keep and bear arms is protected not only by the U.S. Constitution, but also the Illinois State Constitution, Article 1, Section 22, which reads, "Subject to the police powers, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." And so, next I'd like to tell you, I started iCarry.org in 2005, and it's a group that's mostly in the state line in the Chicago area and in Wisconsin. And shortly after I founded that, I was a student at Rock Valley College, and they arrested me for wearing an empty holster to class. And that was the first time I'd ever been arrested. I had a perfect record before that, and right there on the campus, they arrested me for wearing an empty holster. And I fought those charges. It took a couple months and some expenses, but I beat them, and later I sued them for violating my First Amendment rights in lieu of my Second Amendment rights. And the following year at Cherryvale Mall in town, I was arrested for carrying an unloaded gun enclosed in a case, which is, according to state law, the state law says you can carry as long as the gun is unloaded in a case and you have a valid FOID card. I met all those requirements, and they still arrested me. And at the time, they knew I was the founder of iCarry.org. They knew we were pushing for concealed carry in Illinois, one of the only few states, and now the only state in the country without concealed carry. And so they wanted to scare the rest of the gun owners in Illinois into giving up those rights and not exercising those rights. They wanted all the gun owners to be afraid to carry a gun, to have a gun in your car, to be pulled over by the police. They wanted you to be afraid not only of criminals and be unable to protect yourself, but they wanted you to be afraid of the police. And that's something we're not going to stand for any longer. I fought 4 years. I fought felony charges after State's Attorney Paul Logley lied to the grand jury, said the gun was loaded, and indicted me on a felony. Later they retracted that, but they did lie. Judge Vecchio dismissed the charges 2 years later, and then State's Attorney Paul Logley appealed it, again sending me through the ringer for obeying the law, for doing exactly what the law said. But I'm still here today, many years later, and we haven't given up, and we're not going to give up. And we could really use your help. We're partnering with the Rockford Tea Party to keep having events like this. They're open carry events. Come out. We've done a bunch of them. This is the third one in Illinois, and there's been dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of events up in Wisconsin, which helped Wisconsin get their concealed carry law. You know, open carry was legal in Wisconsin before, but concealed carry was illegal, and so we did open carry events and helped pass concealed carry in Wisconsin. So that's what we're going to do here, and we can do that on private property. So we'd really like it if everyone can continue coming out and support it. What the plan is now is to pressure the local politicians into pressuring the state to pass concealed carry, because we've tried to petition the state, we've tried to pressure the governor, we've tried lobbying, we've tried everything, and it's not working. So what we need to do now is we need to put people on account. We need to put individuals, local officials, on account for their actions, and I'm talking the sheriff and the state's attorney in particular, to not arrest people for carrying to protect themselves. As long as you have a FOID card, you should be able to carry a loaded gun, because that's what the Constitution says. That's the right that's guaranteed. And I don't care if the Illinois statutes say you can't, because those statutes are null and void. They violate the Constitution. They are null and void. And every local official that swears an oath to that Constitution ought not be prosecuting or arresting people. And I'm talking about individual officers as well. I know there's good police officers out there, and I know they support this cause. We've seen it with the voting that they've done, the Illinois Sheriff's Association. Everyone's voted to support this. So I want to see people put their actions where their words are. I don't want to hear people just coming up and saying, yeah, I support it, I'm in favor of it, but it's not my fault, that's Springfield. It's their job. Well, yeah, it is their job to pass the law, but it's your job not to enforce the current unconstitutional law as it stands. So that's what we're going to do here in Winnebago County, and we're going to pressure those local officials. And once we start exercising our rights a little bit, and once we hold them account, the local officials, wait till you see how fast Illinois will pass concealed carry. The Illinois legislature is going to look powerless and look like they've lost control. They've lost their power, and they will pass that in an instant. So that's what we're hoping to do with the Rockford Tea Party and iCarry.org and every gun owner in the area. So please, if you haven't already, please sign the petition. I'm sure most, if not everyone, has. Also sign up. You can sign up here right at the table underneath the canopy for the Rockford Tea Party email newsletter. We'd really like to get you on that. You don't have to agree with, you don't have to be a Tea Party member. You don't have to agree with, I mean, I don't agree with everything the Tea Party does. Most of it I do, but that's okay. This issue is what I am here for, and that's what everybody should be here for, and we should all support that and work with the Tea Party and keep having these events here. Keep it local, and keep it very, very pointed at the local officials. And I think that's the way we can finally push this over the edge, because that's where concealed carry stands right now. It's right on the edge. We have lawsuits against the state of Illinois. The Supreme Court of the United States just ruled in McDonald that it's an individual right to keep and bear arms. We have everything going for us. Illinois is the last state. They can't hold out forever. We know it's going to happen. But, you know, I've been at this 7 years, and I'm sick of it. I don't want to wait 7 more years. I want this year. And so I've been talking with David Hale, and I think this is what we're going to do. And so I appreciate, again, for everyone coming out. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, please do. Next, I'd like to introduce the coordinator for this event, the guy that got this event started, and that is Bob Mlsna.
Hey, Bob!
And here he is, so he can tell you some more and more of his experience in local government.
Great job, Shaun. Hi, my name is Bob Mlsna. I wanted to start off by how we do this is recognize all the Tea Party board members, so if anybody has any questions, stage is a little too tall there. Anybody has any questions so you know who you can talk to? The Tea Party board members, can you raise your hand quick? We have Cheryl, we have Dimitri, we have our friend Peter, we have Ulysses, we have Bill. My wife Shannon is over by the petition. Our good buddy Luther is in the back. He did a lot of work on this petition, doing the wordage that we're going to use on this. Did I miss any of our board members here that are here? And Mark is right there, was behind Cheryl. Sorry, I didn't see you. So now, every election has consequences. I went to Harlem High School, been a working man in this area my entire life. Maybe when I was 22, 23, I picked a little unwisely where I went and bought my house, paid it off, fixed it up, down on Broadway. So you guys can imagine what was thrown into me. I was there when it was a nice neighborhood. I was a young biker. I wanted to just work, fix up my place, keep to myself. But then political decisions were made where projects were bulldozed in Chicago, and those people had to go somewhere. And they moved them next to me, across the street, behind me, and the lesson sunk in that even though I played by the rules, I paid all my ridiculous taxes on time, including just yesterday some ridiculous bills. The odds were stacked against me. And then I realized I was Joe Briscotta, we're going to go back to elections having consequences. I installed commercial security doors, put up a fence, have working dogs. I was subpoenaed in about 4 months ago to testify against a neighbor with like 13 felony charges because my home security system captured him with a stolen gun as a gangbanger, shooting it during the middle of a fight. And it just happened where my video put it where it was his gun, the police recovered it. So I'm willing to step up for the citizens around, go into that courtroom. All of him and his buddies are staring at me. Every day when I leave my house, they're sitting there because they have the rights to walk up and down that yard, looking at me and my wife, knowing we fought against them, and I don't have the right to protect myself, to protect my family. And as I'm going around, maybe my neighborhood's shady, but I sure work all over this city, and I say the good people, as is evidenced here, outnumbers the irresponsible people by such a magnitude. We don't need to make laws for the lowest common denominator in this area. We need to make it for the good people that contribute, not the moochers that will do nothing different from the high-rise projects of Chicago when they're leaving with 3 felonies. And I might get along with them just fine, but the fact is they're just wandering around looking for victims of opportunity. And I'm sure everybody knows with the stories, a year ago, elected officials could say, you don't have to worry about it. the reality is, I bet everybody here knows somebody who was either killed by a bad guy, home invaded, carjacked, or I just know that. And so there was one case when I sent an email to Joe Briscotta, it only needed prosecution. He didn't respond back to me. This one where, and that was after letting him know, I guaranteed the guy took my video and they took a plea and he took 4 years in jail for 15 felonies, including entering people's houses, shooting a gun with defaced serial numbers. So they don't go after the criminals, but if those people were to call and say, Bob has a gun on? Well, he's in his fenced-in area, not bothering anybody mowing his lawn. Well, that's the case everybody wants to show up on, and I can defend myself on that and prove with the video that, you know, it's total fabrications by the bad guys, but still, you multiply that by the good people in this area. I say if you're an elected official, you should be able to know the difference between good guy with a family and bad guy that is victimizing families, and regardless of what that law is in Springfield, Joe Briscotta thinks it's okay to charge everybody $10 to $60 a handgun to register them for your own good. And when you think through that, how is that going to solve crime whatsoever? And the last one, my wife got creamed on our motorcycle. We're at a red light, impaired driver. He ran, we got his license plate, we got pieces off his pickup, the cops got him, we picked him out of a lineup. He was on video with my wife on the hood of his pickup as he was escaping, blasting through her stuck on his hood, 4 blocks away, on camera. We needed no detective work. We just needed prosecution. I'm embarrassed to say, in this case as citizens, blocks from our house, when someone does that to us, he doesn't even care about prosecuting something like that. So in that case, I say, here's the election that has consequences. The state's attorney is a very important job. So I'd like to invite Glen Weber to come up to the front, give everybody a warm welcome, and I'd personally like to support him to run against Joe Briscotta as our state's attorney. And I want to grill him and see if he knows the difference between good citizens with guns and gangbangers, and see how he's going to do the difference for Winnebago County and turn our area around on that level. Please welcome Glen Weber to come on up.
No, I jotted down a couple things because this is a very important race, and so I wanted to say a few things. First of all, thank you very much for having me and allowing me to speak. And of course, I want to read to you the Second Amendment. Well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is what I call my desk gun. I bought it in 1987 when I first became a prosecutor in the Winnebago County State's Attorney's Office, and I kept it in my desk. And actually, I brought it here, fixed it up a few times to see if it still works. But I also have here a lovely .40 caliber, which I won a year ago, and is an excellent weapon. Now, you know, just a few thoughts that I have for you. Every prosecutor, of course, should have the ability to defend themselves. Every citizen should be able to carry their weapon at all times, free from government intrusion, free from government regulation, free to protect themselves from the tyranny of the government, free from regulations such as registration, free to protect yourselves from the criminals who now control how we live, how we conduct our lives, where we go, what neighborhoods we go to. Everyone should be free to defend themselves from what we see in Winnebago County, which is the rampant crime, which hopefully, with a change in the new state's attorney, we can make a dent in that crime and also we can all make a dent by exercising our rights to own and have weapons with us. So I'm here just and I'll wrap it up, just to briefly tell you that I will do my best and do my part to vigorously prosecute the criminals, the violent felons, as I did for 21 years as a prosecutor, so that you all can be free to carry your weapons and defend yourselves here at all times as citizens, and make yourselves freer and keep yourselves free from the criminals that seem to be running this county at this time. And so I thank you for your time, and thank you very much for your time to speak with you. Thank you.
Here's a couple questions that we're going to go to the audience, but I have some I think everybody wants to know. Now say, like we know our friend Shaun. We all know he's a law-abiding citizen. Say it comes across your desk where somebody does have an unloaded pistol in a case currently, their magazine, and they foil a crime. Is that person in risk for getting some sort of prosecution for defending themselves in Winnebago County with you as state's attorney? Glenn?
Well, in that situation, I believe that they have been following the statute, and so no, it would not be a problem.
Now, what about, here's another one where Joe Bruscato, I think everybody feels a little safer when you're inside your house with the locked door. At that time, he says, oh, you do have the right to have your gun on your person. I say the law clearly says your property, your place of business. So in my case, I like it in a fenced-in yard. You know, especially when you're in cameras, I say your property extends to that, and I'd even interpret it as to the property that the city requires you to maintain, maybe from sidewalk to curb. So how do you feel about someone having a concealed gun with the statutes that are now, and that comes across your desk?
Well, it's clear that the statute says on your own land, so it's not a problem to have a weapon on your own land, and of course in your own fixed place of business. So, and also in your own home.
Okay. Now, I've met Joe Bruscato, throwing him some questions. Seems like a nice guy, but I like the way Glenn is answering them. But how about somebody from our audience who's got a tricky question here, who's got a good question for the candidate? Here's a good one.
Well, I think, as I mentioned before, we're really going to be looking at the local officials to uphold their oath to the Constitution. So I want to ask you point blank here. Right now, we know the statute's unconstitutional in Illinois. There's no question. I don't believe you have to wait for a court to say that. And I'd like to get your opinion on that. But if we have a law-abiding citizen who's minding his own business, he has a FOID card, and he's carrying to protect himself and his family, and you know, he's picked up by an officer for carrying, and I'm talking loaded in a holster, concealed, or and somehow the officer finds it. What would you do in a situation like that?
Well, you know, that's a very, very tricky question, because you are to uphold the Constitution, but we do have in Illinois a law that does appear to be violative of the Constitution. So it puts myself in a situation where I'm going to have to use prosecutorial discretion to examine each case on a case-by-case basis. So I can't sit here in a vacuum and say, you know, obviously that I'm going to disregard existing law, but I would examine each one and use the appropriate prosecutorial discretion and examine each case on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think there's a real distinction there to be made, and maybe you could comment on this. You know, there's so many gun laws in the books, and I think those laws are great as an addition to prosecuting someone who's engaged in some kind of criminal activity. It's another charge that you can lay on them and hold against them when they're doing something wrong. What are your thoughts on you know, do you see a distinction between people engaged in criminal activity and people, you know, law-abiding citizens?
And I do, and that's one of the most important things, especially here in Winnebago County, where the crime is you know, as we all know it is, we're one of the worst counties in the entire state, so it's extremely important to exercise discretion between a real bad guy with a criminal history who clearly needs to be prosecuted and someone without a criminal history who really shouldn't be on the books. We shouldn't be, you know, doing the paperwork. We shouldn't be taking up our time with a criminal case. Sure.
Okay, we got another question from the audience here. Sorry about the feedback.
Hey, how you doing? I'm not sure if the law's still on the books, but there is something that can be taken from Illinois law to where there is a partial concealed carry, to where if you carry your weapon in an approved gun case, the weapon is not loaded, but you can have a loaded clip next to it, leaving you roughly 6 seconds away from being able to load and go. Do you know if that law's still on the books and applicable to the general citizen?
I do not. I'm not aware of such of that law. I'd certainly like to look at it and examine it. I'm not.
Can you tell them where to find it at?
Yeah,
Hold on just a second. I don't know if I got a copy here. If anyone else has got a question.
We'll get it for Glenn. We have another question. We have a follow-up and then another question.
that is actually published on the state police website. I have a copy of a sheet of paper back on the I-carry table there against the building right by the entrance to the bullet stop. And anyone can come by. I've got 50 copies. Come by and get one. It's this right here. It's called the Fanny Pack letter. It has the statute written down, and we even updated it recently. And so that has a lot of info, and those laws still stand. They are the law, and it's gone to the Illinois State Supreme Court in People v. Diggins, and it was upheld that carrying in your center console, you can carry in your car, in your center console, you can have a gun. You just don't have the magazine inserted. Have a loaded magazine right there, and you can load it up in a second if you needed to.
Did you get a
that law
copy
is
of
still
that
there.
and look at it and see?
Yes. No, I'm aware.
How you doing? Just to go along with that, just to let you guys know, I was out at the mall when the police were out there, I think a month ago. I went to 3 different tables. I went to the Illinois State Police, the Winnebago County Sheriff, and the Rockford Police. Got 3 different answers from 3 different agencies, so just be careful out there. Rockford Police, you have a gun in your car, you'll go to jail. That's what I was told.
You know, Luther made a point when I used the word prosecutorial discretion, and he said, explain what that is.
Sorry about that.
And you bring up a good point there. What it is, prosecutorial discretion means the prosecutor has the discretion to charge and not charge in any given case. So that brings up a good point. You have 3 different interpretations. While there might be a 4th different interpretation from the state's attorney, or the state's attorney's interpretation of the Rockford Police's interpretation and the Winnebago County interpretation. So it's, you know, you have to trust your prosecutor. The only thing I can tell you about me is I've done it for 21 years. I was a prosecutor, and I, proved through my record of knowing the difference between the real bad guys and the not bad guys, and that's what I did for 21 years. And that's what prosecutorial discretion is about: taking that, making that examination, using a common sense analysis, and deciding whether to charge or not to charge somebody. Does that help? Or? Okay.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right, thanks.
Now, this is why we have town hall meetings, so you get your chance to grill the candidates, get a chance to know them, find out if you agree, and we all learn something about the container carry. So Shaun definitely is knowledgeable on that, so I'd recommend grabbing your copy, and I know he also has it on his iCarry.org site. Does anybody else have a question for Glenn? Well, man, I think I'm going to thank you, Mr. Weber, and the Tea Party does not endorse candidates, but personally, I'm going to work with Glen Weber to get him elected on here, so we'll encourage people to do that. Thank you. Next, we're going to talk about, we have a few phases on this. That was at the local prosecution level. Now, the next way we're going to do this is at the battle. We've been beaten down in Springfield. It's close. We're hoping if there's a veto session, we have enough people to get concealed carry passed. In the meantime, to make a statement, Rockford Tea Party, we're going to circulate our petition and do that for the next 5 weeks or so, and then we're going to take it and present it at the county board level to push the issue for the exact wording of the law as they're discussing in Springfield, called House Bill 148. I think it's a good, sensible bill that everyone can get around. I've read through it this week. I didn't see any big objections in it. So I think for the next part, we're going to talk about the process of getting it going to the county board. We're going to circulate, we're going to have it on the websites. I'm going to take it to bike nights and pass it around. We're going to have petitions we can take home with people. We want to get a large amount of citizens. We think public support is for it now, for defending themselves, and push the issue in the media, push it at the county board level. So I was going to ask Jim Webster from the county board to come on up here, and we're going to talk a little bit about, he's fought for us for our Second Amendment in the past, said we didn't have enough votes at the county level to get it passed, and we're going to put the pressure on, let the voters know who's for us and who's against us. And wanted to ask Jim here, how's this going to work at the county board level? If we show up with, is there a magic number of signatures we get? Is there an impressive stack? Is there a certain amount of media buzz we get? And then what's the way we're going to go about this?
I think, and before I get to that, I'll get there in a moment there, but you might think it's kind of odd that everyone else is carrying pistols and so forth, but I'm not. I'm carrying, this is my heritage. Guns and gun ownership is nothing new to me. This is my grandfather's gun. He grew up and lived in the hills of Tennessee, as my father did too. We use our guns for a lot of different things, just for sporting, planking, target shooting. My dad was an Illinois State rifle champion when I was a kid. He used this to put food on the table. So when I say this is my heritage, I may not be here right now if he had not used this old single-shot, 16-gauge shotgun here to support his family and to raise my father so my father could raise me. It's very important we should never, ever lose sight of that. I want to thank Jim for allowing to have this thing here. There's Jim, right there. Bob and Sharon and Luther, you guys really did a hell of a job here, bang-up job. I have some fellow board members here as well. Dave Tassoni's here and Frank Gambino's here. Getting to this issue of the county and the Second Amendment resolution that Bob just referred to, I got that passed. I've got it printed up on the board up there. In the back of that sign, it's got my name on it. It's there for all of you to read. I wasn't prepared to make a big speech or anything, but the Second Amendment resolution here, I brought this in 2007. There was a little bit of fight about it there, but this is a resolution that went statewide. Shaun's very familiar with this. Shaun and I and his lovely wife Lana, we went to Chicago a few years ago and marched downtown Chicago on Daly Plaza there. That cost me a cracked windshield in my wife's car, by the way. But anyways, so this gun issue is nothing new. The second resolution, this Second Amendment resolution is nothing new. This is something I passed in 2007. There was a little bit of a rumble, a little bit of fight about it, until I reminded some of my fellow board members that were opposed to it, because there were a couple opposed to recognizing this Second Amendment right. I reminded them that they did take an oath of office. They took an oath of office to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois. I reminded them that that was not an oath they could take a la carte, where they could pick and choose what they would support and what they wouldn't. In the end, it got approved unanimously. This is still on the books. So, as far as what's going on statewide, the most important thing right now is the Mary Shepard case. Mary Shepard, for those of you who don't know, if anybody deserved the right to carry concealed, was Mary Shepard. She almost got beat to death, beat unbelievable, unrecognizable. It's in the state courts now. If the state courts right now jump on the bandwagon and reverse their decision on the Mary Shepard case, all of this could be moot, because we could then again, if they stand up for constitutional right, we won't even have to talk about concealed or the laws concerning concealed. You'll have a natural right. That's the best possible thing we can hope for. It's working its way through the courts right now. So that's something we could really hope for. As far as local goes here, it's great to see everybody here. And I hope when everybody leaves here, they don't just leave here with a feel-good notion because we were among our fellow gun owners, or those of us that love our guns or our rights. It's more important for you to latch on to somebody that's running for office that can really change things. I'm talking about the state office. That's why it's really important for any of you to support either Dave Fiducia on the local level. Dave's a county board representative. And Dave has got an opponent in this, and he's the only one that was opposed to me bringing this Second Amendment resolution in. And that was Paul Gorski several years ago. Everyone else was okay with it, except for Paul. So locally, we got Dave to support there. On the state level there, you have Frank Gambino, and you have John Crivello, and let's see, Sosnowski's already in office. He doesn't have a race, but you got Bobby Schilling. I would suggest anybody, all of you, get behind one of those. Get them in office. We desperately need them in Springfield. That's where you can be the most effective, is getting out there and helping these people. Whether you put up a yard sign for them, make phone calls, do what you got to do. Because that's where the change is really going to take effect in Springfield. Because even if we do something here, and we tell Springfield, this is what we want. Well, we already did this in 2007. Springfield's got this. So you need some more people down there in the House, the legislature, the Senate, to make the changes that really, really matter. So get behind these local people that are running for state office. Thank you.
But, just again, happy Father's Day to everybody who's out there. It's a great cause that you're all involved with. And I don't want to repeat everything that's been said previously, but a couple speakers talked about, your local representatives. I was a city council member. It's very important at the local level to support the people who are supporting the causes that you believe in. As county board members, city council members, people running for township, they're eventually going to run maybe for a state office one day. Not all, but that's a kind of a training ground. You get the chance to see how people vote, what they do, and you've got some great candidates running. Glen Weber is up earlier. You hear from Frank Gambino, who's running to get down in the state senate. We need to support these local candidates, believe in our causes. And I just want to give a brief update. I'm not going to give too much of a stump speech here, but unfortunately I don't have a lot of good news coming from Springfield. The only good news, I guess, this session was that we didn't pass any more restrictive laws that are going to continue to take away people's rights or charge more fees, but that's not because they didn't try. Many of you probably paid attention. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel proposed, what he thinks is great legislation that would have a handgun registry for the city of Chicago. Of course, he wants to take that statewide one day, and he wants to charge everybody $75 so that they're on a list, so that he knows who they are. Well, everybody knows, obviously, all the criminals who are carrying illegal guns and who are causing all the problems in Chicago are obviously going to be signing up for that registry. So, once they sign up, they'll be able to know where all the criminals are. They'll go and arrest them, and that'll solve the crime problem in Chicago. Unfortunately, I kind of joke about it, but they're serious. They are looking primarily for ways to limit Second Amendment, ways to tax and charge more fees. And they're looking constantly. I was just talking to somebody in the back. We are constantly being assaulted down in Springfield in a lot of different ways. More and more Chicagoland legislators are coming up with ways or different fees or different taxes. This is on top of what they've already passed. We had the largest income tax increase, largest corporate tax increase a year ago, and now they're looking to jack up all these fees, and this is just one more example. So we need to continue to fight, stop those things. We've been successful this year. Unfortunately, with HB 148, concealed carry, we're not able to get that through. And just to give you a little bit of insight of what happens down in Springfield, this came up for a vote a year ago. We actually had an official vote. There's debate on the floor. We have something that's called postponed consideration, and I'll get to who sets the rules in the House down there. But postponed consideration essentially means there's a vote. It didn't get the 70 votes that was required, even though it really should only require 60 votes in the House, but then it gets put on postponed consideration. And what happens is then the vote is no longer official. So nobody's name is on it. So all those Chicago legislators who voted against it, they don't actually have an official vote against it right now. So what we do on the Republican side is we take pictures of the board, you know, as people's lights are up. So if anybody, I've got my business card back there, if you want to track down who actually voted which way on the last time the bill came up, you can see all the Chicagoland legislators who all voted against concealed carry, yet many of them want to run around and take advantage of you know, different laws, or you know, some of them you talk privately, they're carrying concealed themselves illegally because they realize that some of their neighborhoods are not safe. So, you know, that's some of the shenanigans that happen. It was mentioned earlier, the Shepard versus Madigan case is going through the court system right now. If we're successful in this, and I just talked to Todd Vandermeide with the NRA a couple days ago, if this case is successful, and it should be at some level, if we can get that ruling from the circuit court, and they had an opening hearing, opening briefs on June 12th, if that's successful, though, we'll immediately bring up the legislation and do another run-through in this veto session. We'll probably do it anyways, but if that case gets upheld, it's a slam dunk. It should be a slam dunk, and we should be able to get HB 148 passed in Illinois. And obviously, everybody here, I think that's our goal. And you know, we've got a great number of people down in Springfield who support it. I mentioned that 70-vote requirement. Again, this is shenanigans number 2 down in Springfield. The Speaker of the House, some of you know Mike Madigan, he's made state business, or the state of Illinois, a family business. You know, I'm all for family business, you know, parents, moms and dads handing over business to their children and letting the second, third generations take over. Unfortunately, he sees state government as his family business. He's been down there 4 decades. So him and his top-tier men and women who are his support staff and his fellow legislators that he's come into office with, they've been making state policy and controlling the rules and regulations for 4 decades. And so that's why we see a lot of the problems that we see. He sets up this rule of postponed consideration, so there's actually not an official vote tally on the books, so it makes it hard for the public to actually find out who actually voted on an issue. He also sets a requirement, basically based off his prerogative. There's 118 members in the House. I'm one of 118, so it should only take 60 members to actually pass legislation from one House to the next House. Well, he's made up his own rule that if it preempts something called home rule, it actually takes 70-plus votes. And who decides what preempts home rule? Well, he does. And so those are the rules that he's put into place. So when we talk about, you know, and again, not a lot of people know who he is, but we really have one person to blame for a lot of issues, but especially in this matter, he's controlling how the rules work and how votes are taken. We actually, when HB 148 came up, we had 65 yes votes. That should have been more than enough to pass to the Senate and let the state Senate vote on it and then send it to the governor's office. But because of one person, him, he decided that that vote needed 70 votes in order to pass out of the House. So we're really in an uphill battle, and it really comes down to a numbers game. Right now, there's 64 Democrats. Most of them have been selected by Speaker Madigan, handpicked. He's been there for 40 years. He controls all the money in Springfield as far as donations. He supports all the candidates on his side of the aisle. He redrew the map this past year when we were talking about redistricting. Him and his cohorts sat in a dark room and they designed what type of map that they wanted. So he has slated the game in his favor. But the only way to overcome that is by knocking his people out and getting our people in there, and we can do it. So we just got to all band together. I just encourage all of you to support these local candidates here. If you've got friends or family in other parts of the state, get involved, send checks, you know, no check's too small. If you can't send a check, go volunteer for an hour on somebody's campaign. Every little bit's going to help. If you can't go someplace, you know, there's systems now set up. You can make a phone call right in your couch in your living room, and you can make 10 phone calls a night to support a candidate. And there was some here tonight that would love to have that help, but there's others around the state. And we've just got to, in a numbers game, we've just got to start to knock off some of those folks, mostly Chicagoland Democratic legislators, who continually vote, continually try to stymie concealed carry, and continually try to push more taxes and more regulation on handgun and gun ownership. So I appreciate the time here today. I'm certainly available for questions, but I want to give other people an opportunity. Thanks so much for having me. Again, my business card's back there. If you want to get that roll call vote and see actually how people voted on it, I'd be happy to email it to you, or any other information. It's right on that table, my email. I'd be happy to send that out to you. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll take a few questions over here, real quick. I see you over there.
My name is Andre. Hi, nice to meet you. I heard something in the news about a veto-proof majority vote, so that it doesn't matter what Quinn thinks. What's that number?
That's 71. We do need to get 71 votes.
So 71, it doesn't matter. And is there a number that doesn't matter in the Senate as far as a vote?
Well, there's 59 members in the Senate, so same rules apply in order to stop that.
Both houses have to pass it with, is it a fraction? Is it 3/5?
Well, two-thirds. Two-thirds overcome the veto. So, but the big thing is put the pressure on the governor to actually get the bill. And that's why I was talking earlier, the House rules. If we could just get it there. The Senate, I think we have the votes in the Senate to pass it. Let's put public pressure on the governor's office and make him actually take a stand on an issue. But him and Speaker Madigan and Collerton and Senate, they're all in cahoots to try to, keep this bill stymied and not allow it actually to move along the process.
But there's no indication at all that he would be forced politically to sign it.
It all depends. We've got to get it to that point. But again, it's even better, Key. We've got 65 votes. There's a couple members who are wavering.
That's what I heard on the radio from somewhere.
In this election, you get 3 or 4 votes to swing one way. That's it. We've got it.
All right, thanks.
Mr. I was curious about your thoughts. About 2 weeks ago, Congressmen Joe Walsh, Randy Holkren, Don Manzillo, and Tim Johnson sent a letter to Governor Quinn urging him to support concealed carry. I was wondering your thoughts on that letter.
The question was, for those who couldn't hear, some of our congressmen throughout the Northern Illinois region sent a letter to Governor Quinn encouraging to sign that legislation. I support them. I think it's a great idea. And part of the problem, though, it gets back to the philosophical viewpoint and where these representatives and governors come from. Speaker Madigan, Senate President Collerton, who runs all the rules in the Senate, the governor right now, many of the other people that are in top leadership have been in government 20, 30, 40 years, and they also all come from the same neighborhoods. If you look at a map, they're all within about a couple miles of each other, all in the Chicagoland area. So all their policies are almost identical. But again, I think it's great that our congressmen and again our congressional candidates across the state, it's important to keep the right ones in there, and that's going to be a big challenge because again, the Speaker Madigan controlled the mapping process, makes it hard on all the congressmen out there too. So just everybody needs your support. But good questions. Any others out there? Again, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
We have one more speaker running for state senate, Frank Gambino. Now with this funny business with redistricting, I think he's got a tough battle coming up, and it's another one where the Tea Party doesn't endorse anybody, but I'm on his side, and I'd like to know he's fighting for our Second Amendment rights, so I'd like to welcome Frank Gambino up here and give him a welcome.
Appreciate it. You've all been standing out here and sitting a long time, so I'm just going to take a few minutes. Concealed carry came to, I became a believer, several years ago, probably back on 2000. As you all know, I'm a realtor, and it became quite evident as crime got worse, we were getting realtors that were caught in bad situations, getting lured into houses, women, men, being robbed with people with guns and knives, and the element of surprise. We've lost realtors, about 100 realtors a year nationwide. We lose to violence that way. We've had some very scary experiences in Rockford area. And it kind of, the light went on one day when we were at our offices having a trainer come in teaching our women and our men how to use mace against a gun. Doesn't work. They've got to have a gun. They've got to have the right to protect themselves. And that's when the light bulb went on for me, and I'm a big believer in concealed carry. I believe it's a game changer against violence. I am running in the 34th, running against Steve Stoudemire, who says he is for concealed carry. But when he says that, he says it with very little conviction. He says it with the attitude that, well, I got to say it because I've got to win. And he's going to be the mouth of John Collerton and Mike Madigan. And this race here in the 34th is pivotal. Because with Dave Severson moving into the 35th, this was completely designed to be a Democrat-held district. So they gained one more vote in the Senate. We've got to retain that Republican vote if we want concealed carry to go. Because if the balance starts to shift, we'll never get it through, as well as a lot of other conservative ideas. So, I just want to say thank you. We could use your support and help. I do have information over the table right here. Folks, we need volunteers, we need donations, we need everything. We're working very, very hard. It's looking very good for us. But this is going to be a long race, and the Democrats